is now in session. Read the statement from the governor pursuant to Governor Baker's.
Secondary recording on the Zoom, so all set.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Law 30A-18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Planning Board is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to https://www.southboroughtown, that's all one word, .com/remote meetings. So having read that, we will move on to the first item on our agenda, which is a continued public hearing for town meeting warrant article, amend section 174-10, site plan approval. This is continued from January 27th, February 10th, February 24th, March 9th, March 23rd, April 13th, and when was the last one?
April 27th.
April 27th. Turn it over to the town planner. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to continue this public hearing and the next two on our agenda to a date in the future. We now know that the town meeting has been rescheduled to June 13th. So having huddled with the town planner, it would seem that it would be appropriate for the board to continue these hearings to the Monday before that scheduled town meeting, which would be June 8th. Any comments on that?
I can tell you that we
Questions?
haven't received any new questions on applications or any new applications to this point. Chestnut Hill Farm is still waiting for the planning board when we come out of this. But there have not been any new ones.
So relative to this continued public hearing, it would appear that we can continue this public hearing to June 8th. Mr. Mills.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we continue this public hearing for annual town meeting warrant article, amend section 174-10 site plan approval to June 8th at 7 p.m.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Okay, that hearing has been continued. Next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for annual town meeting warrant article. Amend section 174-9 special permit requirements, 174-19 extensions or alterations. This public hearing is continued from January 27th, February 10th, February 24th, March 9th, March 23rd, April 13th, and April 27th. The purpose of this meeting is to continue this hearing and the others without deliberation. Mr. Mills.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we continue the annual town meeting warrant article, amend section 174-9 special permit requirements and 174-19 extensions or alterations to June 8th at 7:05 p.m.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Very good. That hearing is continued. Next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing. Annual town meeting warrant article update section 174-12.1 outdoor illumination. This public hearing is continued from January 27th, February 10th, February 24th, March 9th, March 23rd, April 13th, and April 27th. Since this agenda has been posted for no deliberation, we'll entertain a motion to continue. Mr. Mills,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we continue the public hearing for annual town meeting warrant article update section 174-12.1 outdoor illumination to June 8th at 10 PM.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Very good. All three of those hearings have been moved, continued to June 8th. Next item on the agenda is the planner's report. Karina.
Okay, sorry, I talked out of turn there on the first public hearing continuation. I'm a little bit out of it. I was listening to the Board of Selectmen's meeting, and when they postponed, actually postponed the annual town meeting to June 13th, they had Paul Semino as a participant during the meeting. And I just wanted to outline very briefly the approach that they discussed. Paul Semino indicated as the moderator that he was hoping for kind of a three-phase approach to town meeting. There are actually 18 articles that they consider more critical to have them be a part of town meeting as opposed to all the warrant articles, which I believe there are 33 or 32. So he identified that there were 11 of these 18 critical articles that they would hope to process through a consent agenda as part of the first phase. Then the second phase would be, and those articles I believe were like 2, 3, 4, 11, 12, 13, 15 to 18, and 21. Then the second phase would be to have motions for indefinitely postpone the non-critical articles to a future town meeting. We're not sure, they're not sure when that might be. Everyone thinks maybe the fall. And then phase 3 would be to take action on the remaining 7 critical, what they consider critical articles, which I believe they pointed out were articles 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 14. So if you have a copy of the warrant, you can see which ones those are. They're mostly the financial related ones, and the ones under consent are the ones that would probably pass very quickly. The 7 that they leave for phase 3 are probably might require more discussion, or they anticipate more discussion. And I just want to point out that if they indefinitely postpone, it all depends on how town council advises them to address how to move these other warrant articles to the future. If we don't have a town meeting within 6 months of the end of when we close these public hearings, they'd have to restart public hearings for these 3 warrant articles that we've been working on, just so you know. We've also prepared some draft reports to town meeting for all 3 of these articles. Basically,
And those were in
Yep.
our Dropbox.
Correct. They're in the Dropbox. Very simple. It'll just describe whether the planning board voted to support or not. And then that allows more options at town meeting as we get closer to the town meeting schedule. If we don't have the 21 days from the time the public hearings are closed to the town meeting, you either have to have 21 days of time, or you have to have a report to town meeting. in order for the town to vote on the articles, according to Chapter 48, Section 5, Mass General Law. So that's all I have on that. I just wanted to give
So,
you a quick update.
Karina,
Yeah.
with that news, it would, do you believe it would be appropriate to make, when we meet and reopen and open these three articles, these three hearings on June 8th, would the plan be to open the articles, and if there's no, open the hearings, and if there's no, I guess, reason or no input, then the board would consider closing the public hearing on June 8th for each of those, and then execute those reports for each article, whether we would support or not support. And that would be all done during the June 8th meeting?
You could do that. At that point, it would be, you have a second option. If you typically hold your 1 hour pre-ATM planning board meeting, you could also do it at that point. But it wouldn't hurt to close them and then vote to support or not support. Then we would have the reports ready. We have gone right up to an hour before town meeting to vote.
Right, but with the discussion about reducing the number of articles that would go forward at town meeting,
Mhm.
would it be, I'm not sure if we know the answer right now, but maybe by June 8th we would, if it would be preferred, and you know, a positive way to approach this town meeting would be to close those hearings and then have the board discuss or even vote to continue to have the articles definitely postponed, so that would be known. If we took that action on June 8th, it would be known several days before the town meeting, and the moderator and the townspeople would know that the articles aren't going to be considered.
If we know that information on June 8th, that is the absolute approach they're going to take, because many things can happen on the town floor, on the town meeting floor. If someone makes a motion to indefinitely postpone, someone could, the town could vote not to do that
Right.
and
then
take action.
and then the article would have to be moved forward. Right.
Right.
Would be heard at the town meeting. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we should, as a board, we should know what our options are, especially on June 8th. So as time gets closer to that, we'll get a feeling for our articles and others that are considered non-critical.
Yeah, and I guess maybe, go ahead, Marnie.
I just have a quick question. So, Karina, you made the comment that if after 6 months after we've opened the initial public hearings, and if we don't have a town, close. Okay.
Once, the language is after the planning board hearing, 21 days lapse. So it's when the planning board public hearing closes, then it's 21 days from that point.
But you said the 6 months, if the
Is
town
from the
doesn't hold it,
planning board. Sorry.
if the town doesn't hold another public meeting, a town meeting. So if we have a town meeting in the fall, and let's say it's in September, and then the Springtown meeting is 6.5 months later, you're saying that we would have to re-advertise and start public hearings again, because it's more than 6 months.
Correct. So if you close today, say more realistically, you close on June 8th, right? And you vote, public hearing is closed June 8th. You have July, August, September, October, November. You have until December 8th to present it at annual town meeting for a vote. After December 8th, you would have to re-advertise and hold the public hearings again.
So just point of clarity. So if the decision is that it's asked to indefinitely postpone because they have so many meetings,
Mhm.
then it's still active, assuming we have another town meeting before the end of the year. These would still be active through December.
Only if the planning board reports to town meeting.
Okay.
In other words, I believe state law considers indefinitely postponed as a disapproval. I think that's what the language is in precedence. So I can read it right here out of the DHCD. There's reference to, let's see. If a town acts unfavorably on a zoning proposal, which such zoning proposal cannot be considered by town meeting within 2 years from the date of an unfavorable action unless the adoption of the zoning proposal is recommended in the final report of a planning board. And then it references a case note. If a planning board recommends favorable action after notice and public hearing, city council could consider within the 2-year period a zoning proposal which had been unfavorably acted upon by town council. That was the wrong one. A vote at town meeting to indefinitely postpone action on an article is the equivalent of complete disapproval. So check that DHCD document that I had mailed previously and we discussed at prior meetings. And look under G, page 8, and it'll state that if it's indefinitely postponed is the equivalent of a disapproval. But if the planning board provides a report of, if the planning board provides a report to town meeting supporting the article, that becomes a moot point.
Jesse,
A
You
couple
there,
of
Jesse?
questions. Yep, couple of questions. At this point, is our intention and plan to meet in person at Town Hall on June 8th?
We don't know that because we don't know until May 18th, we don't know what the governor's provisions and orders are going to be. He may
Okay, so-
extend it, he may partially open.
So theoretically, man, we could get into how likely it is, but I don't see the point. But theoretically, technically, we could be meeting in person with open meeting with public participation on June 8th regarding these warrant articles. So that's
Correct,
one
and that
thing I
would be
think we should,
great.
and that's one thing I think that we should bear in mind as a board. And then the other thing that I'm not quite clear on is since we are sponsoring the zoning articles, if we as a board at this point voted to withdraw them from the warrant, I'm wondering, does it make sense for us to consult with town council and explore that option? Because, you know, Karina, you raise a very good point that we as a board may not want to give or may not feel it's appropriate under these circumstances to have the warrant articles brought onto town meeting floor to be voted on under any circumstances.
Two things. First of all, this remote meeting this evening is set up with public participation in the form that has been standardly accepted since these provisions and the relaxing of remote participation. So this meeting is different from the other remote meetings we've had in that this one is considered remote participation meeting with public participation ability. Number two
That's-
is, I'm
that's
not
why
sure
we're-
that, yeah,
That's why we're here on a Thursday night, because that's when it was available. Go ahead, Karina.
and number two, Jesse, I don't believe that you can withdraw an article once it's on the warrant. I don't know that for sure, but I just recall someone else bringing that up recently, and they said, it's on the warrant, it's printed, you can't just withdraw it. I don't know. I think that is town
Right, but
council
since there is
question.
some uncertainty, I would recommend it because I think that we as a board it would be in our best interest to know all the available options.
Well, we sent a note to town council a week or 10 days ago, asking for guidance relative to what you're talking about, to
Mhm.
preserve the articles. What action should we take if we don't want them on this town meeting? What action at this town meeting should we take to preserve them? And we did get an answer, although it was a little bit open-ended. And I think it had to do with not just our articles, but the way that other articles would be handled. So it kind of left the door open for future guidance relative to that. But I think what we've done is by keeping the public hearings open, the articles are still alive. By having the draft reports ready and ready for us to, if we decide to go that route, ready to vote on, which would then keep the articles alive. And if there's any other method or thing that we need to do to keep them from not being viable, we'll be reaching out to town council as we get closer. What exactly should we do at the town meeting or just prior to it to preserve the articles?
And town council's response email is posted on the Dropbox. If you can take a quick look at it if you have access right now. It's the email, the legal opinion that Dawn is referring to. So it's it answers some of those questions, but there's some unclarity as to how the moderator, probably with town council's advice, is going to move forward on these indefinitely proposed non-critical warrant articles. During the Board of Selectmen's meeting, Selectman Kalenda brought up an interesting point in specifically referring to the outdoor illumination, which he expressed that there's a big fear from certain sectors of the recreation folks that the intent of this article is to stop the zoning board approved lights at Finn School, which I felt was a little bit misrepresented because that is not the case. That outdoor illumination proposal, the changes don't in fact, I believe, prohibit those lights from going in. It's
We're
just
drifting-
enhancing
We don't want to drift into too much.
merits.
Right, our agenda doesn't really cover us
Right,
discussing the technical or
right.
language of the article. So I don't want to drift too far off of that.
No, I did drift off. Sorry. My point is that he was questioning whether, if they have a large number of people who come to the who may not come to the meeting, and someone on the floor brings up a motion to not indefinitely postpone that particular non-critical article, that the dynamics could change. And therefore, the people that they would want there to vote on a particular article wouldn't be there. And it might alter the outcome. So there was concern like that. So there's something about indefinite postponing that is not crystal clear. And I'll follow up with town council to see if he has any clarity on that so that we know on June 8th. But, it's already kind of confusing when you look at the state law that says indefinitely postponed means disapproval based on precedence. But if the planning board reports to town meeting in support of an article, then that makes that issue go away. And then you just have to present at another town meeting within 6 months. But if it's disapproved without a report from planning board, you can't come back for 2 years. See what I'm saying? So, in listening to the other boards discuss this, the Board of Selectmen discussed this, it wasn't really clear. Unless anybody else here has experience with that indefinite proposal at prior town meetings.
Anyone?
No, I don't. I did a quick Google search and I found just now that Andover, Mass states, their website states that that the withdrawal of a meeting article or a warrant article needs to be at the annual town meeting. So again, it was like adjusted at the second. So, I'll vet that for.
So let's rely on the town planner to get further clarification.
Sure.
But at this point, it's great that we have the bandwidth and the opportunity to have continued the public hearings to June 8th with the potential town meeting on the 13th. It puts it, it's in good sequence, I think. So there's still options.
That's what we want. Anything else on this? We'll move on. Anything else, Karina?
No, I think that's it. We just have meeting minutes.
Chairman, make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes from April 27th, 2020 as written.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Excellent. Anything else?
I guess our next meeting is June 8th.
Motion to adjourn.
Unless something comes up that the town planner will let us know about, and if we decide to hold a meeting in between, but it appears that that won't happen. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor to adjourn, Morris, yes.
Mills, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
We're adjourned. Thanks very much. Thank you, Sarah, Kate.
Thank you.
Bye,
Nice job,
Thanks.
everybody.
Everybody.
Thanks, Karina.
Nice to see you all.
Enjoy the
Leave
polar
meeting.
vortex this weekend.
Hey,
Right.
Sarah,
Yes.
there were no participants.